everyone. I'm Commissioner Nelson Smith. Um, Thank you all for tuning in. We're starting a new series called Conversations with the Commissioner. So today we're joined with DeAnne Hubbard from IT, who I'm sure you all know. So would you mind telling us about yourself?
I'd be happy to. So I'm DeAnne Hubbard. I am here with the DBHDS IT department, and I help people collaborate in the organization with SharePoint and Teams.
Awesome. All right, so let's get started. What questions do you have?
I want to know a little bit more about the governor's initiative for Right Help Right Now. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, Right Help Right Now. It's a pretty good name because when the governor was going around the state or the Commonwealth, he heard from a lot of citizens that, number one, behavioral health care is very hard to access, right? So they don't know where to go or how to get into this whole space. And then there's also the component of you don't get care timely. So you hear about people sitting in emergency rooms, law enforcement sitting beside them. So this is front and center for the administration, getting right help to our citizens right now. So it's a cool tagline, but behind that is it's an unprecedented initiative, huge investment on behalf of the governor and the General Assembly. It's built on 6 pillars, but the first year, and especially one of the largest, I call it a keystone, is our crisis continuum. And are you familiar with 988?
I am. I've been very excited to see how many people we're helping
Right.
with that.
Okay, good. Well, that's the biggest effort within Right Help Right Now. So 988, and for those of you that don't know, we got to spread the word loud, like as far and wide as you can. 988 is not just a number to dial. It is much more. So it's someone to talk to. So as soon as you dial 988, the idea is that someone's going to pick up, right? To meet you in your crisis or whatever your need is. It could be for anxiety, by the way. You just don't know what to do. Dial 988. Someone's going to be there to pick up the phone. It's someone to respond. And so it's mobile crisis teams that can meet a Virginian no matter where they are in their community and in an intersection. Like if you see someone in crisis, you can call and we'll deploy a mobile crisis team to meet them. All too often you hear about in the news terrible outcomes. Law enforcement, like they're not trained to respond to mental health crisis. And we've seen in recent months negative outcomes. We want people who are trained to identify and see what those are. Now it could be in collaboration with law enforcement. Right? So sometimes some of these situations are dangerous for clinical people. But at any rate, the idea is that someone will respond who's trained to de-escalate and get them the help they need. So, and the final component is somewhere to go. So somewhere to go. Again, the Virginian is sitting in an emergency room for an average of 40 plus hours with no help, and law enforcement sitting there with them, not in their communities, but sitting. So both sides is terrible. Well, crisis receiving centers, the idea is that we're going to build one center for every 100,000 citizens. Of course, in the Southwest, we're going to adjust that, or in remote rural areas. But the idea is that they will get treatment right away.
That's wonderful.
It is tremendous. So all of those components, remember, it's someone to talk to, someone to respond, and somewhere to go. It's a text, it has a text feature as well. So, some people don't feel comfortable talking on the phone. They can interact with via text. But to me, that's the biggest piece of Right Help Right Now, because it does help people. It gives them an avenue to begin that journey or access that treatment or care. And it has a warm line where they connect to whatever resources they may need. So I'm very excited about it. Right Help Right Now is a 3-year plan. We have 3 years left to accomplish a lot more. But I could tell you this is this administration's priority. Very exciting.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like to think when I'm coming to work, even though I work in the IT department, people say, well, I'm not curing cancer in my job. And I'm like, we're doing something just as important. Every single person, whether you work in IT, accounting, or anywhere.
That is an amazing point, and absolutely, like, everyone wants to be part of something bigger than themselves, and I can honestly say that this is the biggest thing that I've done in my life. And every person I've talked to is part of this. Every inch of this agency is part of this. So thanks for saying that.
That's awesome. So tell me, with the Right Help Right Now initiative, how does that align with our DBHDS strategic plan?
That's a great question. I know that's on a lot of people's minds. The stress, number one, being one of the governor's biggest priorities, the burden is heavy on us. And a lot of our staff are bearing the brunt of that, right? The anxiety of like this overworking, or can we deliver, or oh my goodness, there's a lot going on. So thank you all, by the way. And we want to try to balance our resources here at DBHDS to make sure that we aren't burning our people out. They're the most valuable asset that we have. You all are. So back to the strategic plan. It supports Right Help Right Now. The things that Right Help Right Now consists of, again, primarily have to do with a lot of crisis right now, but it does actually have other components to it. But the strategic plan are the things within this agency that we've not set targets for historically. And without targets or goals, we're not able to allocate resources properly. So I'd say so to answer your question, our agency strategic plan complements the governor's plan. But more importantly, it gives us the ability to figure out what resources are needed where. And so let's say we are falling behind on a target, which is okay. That's okay. It's what can we do to help? How can we surround one another in order to deliver on what we owe Virginians, which is absolutely the best behavioral health care delivery system in the nation. And I think we all want to do that, but aligning that and having that direction to go in. And that's where we've got this initiative, and I don't know that people have heard this, but one DBHDS. No matter what office you work in, no matter what you do, I don't care, you are part of this. If you work for this organization, you are every much as part of this as ever before. And so we all have to have that same unifying thing. And that's the strategic plan does that for us.
So, being in IT, I'm a little biased because I want to make sure the technology that we have in place is aligned with those initiatives. So I work with Microsoft and Teams and Power BI and all of these new tools. So can you kind of tell us a little bit how those tools have helped with your initiatives?
Oh my, yeah, that's a great question. Well, we always, one of the components of our strategic plan is modernization of processes, systems, and those are tools that connect all of these initiatives and strategies together. We want to make sure that we're maximizing everyone's time. And so in this current day and age, there are so many tools that we're not leveraging. Automating processes. We're currently using, this court will say, like Excel spreadsheets everywhere. We've got to get out of that business and automate. There's lots of things that people are doing just over and over again, like these certain tasks. Again, how do we automate that? And so that's part of it. Then data. We want to maximize our resources. We have to know where we're putting them. Well, at large, in many areas, we don't know because we're not looking at it. So then Power BI, for example, it's a very powerful tool, which I think everyone needs to learn how to use. And so you can collate data and it could spit out charts and whatever you need to allow us to better see where we can maneuver our resources or people, or people. But
Well, you've
so
got
yeah,
to know the numbers
correct.
before you can tell how to,
Right.
how to allocate your resources
We
properly.
want to be more intentional with how we do things, and people have been for so long trying to figure things out on their own. Valiant efforts to do what's right. That's the thing I know about everyone in this building and out in the field, is everyone is passionate about what they do. Truly, truly, truly. And we have not been, as an organization, we have not been able to deliver on the tools and resources for them to do their job better, um, because we haven't invested in some of these things. So you're right there, and it's pivotal that we advance those things, or I don't think we're going to be as successful.
Well, and that's my personal mission, I guess, from an IT perspective. I don't like to see anyone struggle with technology. Technology should help you do your job. And I have a job because we have facilities to support, because we have CSVs to support.
Right.
That's why we're here in this central office,
Right.
Is to support those folks. And yeah, I want to see everybody submit a ticket and let us help with collaboration and communication, to make people's jobs easier, not harder.
Right.
That's my own personal goal.
Thank you. Well, that's a great question.
So as I mentioned, being in technology, I guess I'm a little biased. I love our Microsoft tools. But what would you say to people about the new technology? What advice would you give people here in the agency?
You've got to embrace these things. They're tools that are going to help. And the time that it takes you to try to learn these things is going to be minimal compared to the time that it's going to save you. So lean into these things, right? It's going to be a little uncomfortable because you're not used to doing these things. That's okay, because guess what? And you hear it all the time. Change is uncomfortable. And if you're comfortable, you're not going through change. And if we're not changing, then we're not meeting the need of the citizens of Virginia that are paying us to be the best that we can be. I can tell you that I'm very adamant about this. Since I got into this role, I say, well, let's do this. Well, you can't do that. And I keep running into these roadblocks, and it's like, well, welcome to state government. And so early on, I realized, well, I reject that. Because I'm sure you agree, I'm sure you all can agree, that you would expect as a citizen of the Commonwealth, and I'm not just saying this is no political jargon, like we want to be the best, right? DBHDS, they're two, I say this a lot, DBHDS gets a couple of responses when you are asked, well, I work at DBHDS. One is, what's that? That's a long name. Or the other one is, oh, oh man. And maybe that's changing. God willing, we want to change it. Because again, I like being part of an awesome team, and I feel like we have the best in state government, DBHDS. But embracing these tools is like an incremental step in that direction. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable and just dive right into that change. And you're going to be better for it, because when you come out of the other side, again, I've leaned into those things too. So.
Well, it's like you said, it's human nature to retreat when you're learning something new, which puts you in an uncomfortable place. But we're, in the IT department, we're going to help you overcome those hurdles, and hopefully that learning curve will be shorter and will make your job easier and happier. That's what I would love to see. So the next time you want to say thank you to someone, I would say, send a chat. Don't send an email, because it's so easy to just go into your Teams and your chat and go, thank you so much for your help.
Yeah.
And you're done. So I'd love to see us reduce email that way, and reduce some of the other ways we share documents via email, and start having the files in one place. Because it is frustrating when people go into something and it's like, well, there's this version here and a version here and a version here.
Right.
We're with our new tools, we're fixing a lot of that.
Yeah.
So things like these new initiatives and things, you can collaborate on them. As a matter of fact, collaborate outside of the agency, and be very successful at doing it.
Yeah. Sounds like a plug for SharePoint and Microsoft Teams.
Our intranet, yay!
Yeah, thank you.
So I have also heard a little rumor that we have some new branding coming out with our logo. Do you have a sample of that available for everyone to see?
That may or may not be true. Rumors, by the way.
Rumors?
No, don't. I'm just kidding. Don't get me started. We do have a new logo, and I guess it is time that we kind of start rolling it out a little bit. But stay tuned. There's going to be a more of a sequenced rollout of this thing. But this is it.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
That looks really good. Can I get a T-shirt with that on it?
So this was designed specifically for T-shirts and really cool swag. No,
All
I'm just
right.
kidding.
Well, I'd love to see some of the guys here, wear the polo shirts with the logo right here.
Right.
The
Anyone.
more we can do branding. So just another quick question just to finish us off is what would you say internally we can do to help the branding effort?
Well, I would say stay tuned for what we're going to be doing with that. I mean, we want to make it, this is all in line with the one DBHDS. I know there are certain logos and this and that, but we want to make sure that everyone's unified, and this is something that we can unify behind. So in the next few weeks, you're going to receive more information on this.
Will they allow us in the building to paint the whole logo up here?
It would look good right here, actually.
Very good.
Well, so there's going to be a whole initiative with this this new brand with the community, internal, external, how you're going to use it on your emails or your individual offices and so on and so forth. But we're really excited about it. A lot of thought and effort went into this. I would say dozens of rounds. Behind the scenes, we were trying to figure out with all these great things that are going on with the agency. Branding is important, and giving people a sense of belonging that they are part of something bigger than themselves, and not just internally, but also the community. Again, when we talk about what is DBHDS to the citizens of Virginia. So this was developed and kind of refined, and they wanted, to stick with the same colors, the green and the blue. Obviously, recovery is in the center of this. That life of possibilities. But this is clean. It's very simple. It's understanding that we are all in this together. The arrows would indicate that we're all moving in a forward direction. That you're going from a place where you weren't maximizing, or you were hopeless, or whatever these things are, and then you're moving into a place with other people around you, into a place where you're better, or at least moving in that direction. That we're moving forward together. And so
symbols mean a lot, and
right.
that very much speaks to me in that way.
And the significance too that each one of the dots represents an individual. It could be an individual, it could be a community, it could be an office, it could be the agency. Whatever it is to you is the individual looking at this. And so I'm a very visual person. I immediately thought of this cool commercial. Hopefully we'll get it to go along with this. But so the idea is like one of the blue dots. So you could see as the commercial comes on, you see a therapist in a room with someone who's clearly struggling, like not in their best situation. And then it zooms out and becomes a blue dot. And then it goes to another scene of an adolescent maybe in school and, feeling down and walking into an office. And again, it zooms out to a blue dot. And you've got a couple of those little scenes where you've got these individuals who are struggling to be wherever they are. And it goes up into a blue dot. And then as it moves forward, you get another scene of a family hugging, someone coming home, a reunion, and it zooms out into a green dot. That you've got maybe, I don't know, folks in the agency who are celebrating something, a success that they, boom, into a green dot, right? So you've got all these that make up this whole arrow that moves forward. And it becomes this whole thing, and it zooms out to DBHDS. And we're all in this, moving forward in a direction that's positive, recovery, everything that we want it to be. And it's not possible unless we do it together. And that's what the logo means, in my mind, in my heart. So hopefully you all feel the same way.
I like it. It's very, very nice. Like I said, just let me know when the t-shirts are ready.
Will do.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time today.
It's a pleasure.
Pleasure to meet you.